Before dinosaurs, before forests, before animals themselves, Earth passed through an age with almost no stories. No footsteps, no eyes looking at the sky. Only rock, ocean, and time beyond imagination. That age was called the Proterozoic Eon. The Proterozoic began 2.5 billion years ago and ended 540 million years ago. Nearly 2 billion years long. Almost half of Earth's entire history. If Earth's story were a single day, the Proterozoic would stretch across the afternoon and night. Everything familiar to you appears only in the final minutes. The Proterozoic was quiet, not because nothing happened, but because everything happened too slowly, too subtly. Life existed, but mostly as single cells. No bones, no shells, no footprints. Even though life filled the oceans, it left almost no trace behind. Yet within the silence, Earth was preparing a revolution. Cyanobacteria began releasing oxygen, a gas that was toxic to most life at the time. Oceans rusted, rocks changed color. The sky slowly turned blue, no explosions, no sound, but Earth's destiny was rewritten forever. The Proterozoic was not gentle. At times, Earth nearly froze over completely. Ice reached the equator, oceans sealed beneath frozen shells. The planet became a drifting snowball in space. This was not the end, it was a stress test for life. Between ice and oxygen, life learned something new, how to become complex. Cells began to cooperate. Energy was used more efficiently. Multicellular life appeared for the first time. No applause, no witnesses. Only time remembered it all. When the Proterozoic ended, the world still looked calm. But the stage was ready. Oxygen-rich air, stable oceans, life waiting in the wings. The next act would be the loudest explosion in biological history. And it all began in Earth's longest, quietest age. In the Proterozoic, the main character was not life, not catastrophe, not even Earth itself. The main character was time. 1 million years changed nothing. 10 million years barely shifted a coastline. At this scale, waiting was not an action. It was a way of existing. The Proterozoic world was a world without being seen. No eyes, no meaning to color, no shapes waiting to be recognized. Light existed, but there were no viewers. For the first time, Earth learned how to exist without being observed. Today, oxygen keeps you alive. But in the Proterozoic, oxygen was a catastrophe. It killed countless ancient organisms, altered ocean chemistry, and drove a mass extinction without fire, without asteroids. Earth learned its first lesson. Survival does not mean safety. When Earth became a snowball, the true threat was not the cold. It was duration. The ice lasted tens of millions of years. Life could not escape, it could only adapt. In darkness, cold, and scarcity, life learned endurance, cooperation, and efficiency. We struggle to remember the Proterozoic, not because it was unimportant, but because it was not human-like. No heroes, no sudden turning points, no names to tell stories about. Yet without this silence, nothing that followed would have been possible. The Proterozoic taught Earth one thing: greatness does not need to be seen. Some ages exist not to be remembered, but to hold the world together for what comes next. In the Proterozoic, there was no concept of now. Change happened so slowly that no single moment mattered. By the time you noticed, the world was different. Millions of years had already passed. Earth existed in a state that did not need to be understood in real time. Life in the Proterozoic rarely competed. No races for speed, no weapons, no chasing or fleeing. Survival was not about winning, it was about not failing. The rise of oxygen was not a single breath. It was more like learning to walk, stumbles, pauses, steps backward. Atmospheres collapsed, oceans reset again and again. Earth did not suddenly learn to breathe. It took 1 billion years to stop suffocating. No songs, no roars, no wind through trees. Sound requires air and ears to receive it. In the Proterozoic, the world was absolute silence, not quiet. But sound had not yet been invented. The Proterozoic never intended to be remembered. It left behind no easily understood forms. Its purpose was simply to tune the world until it was ready to begin. If Earth ever learned patience, it learned it here. Your life in Earth's history is almost nothing, and yet it matters because before you, the world spent 2 billion years learning how to wait. The Proterozoic had no rhythm, no sharp contrast between day and night, no dramatic change of seasons. Earth spun faster. Years were not clearly divided. Time had no beat, it only flowed. The Proterozoic oceans were not the blue you know. Dissolved iron tinted the water green, brown, sometimes red. This was not beauty, it was chemistry. Earth was still deciding what it wanted to become. Today's continents feel stable. In the Proterozoic, they were still experimenting. Rifting, colliding, reassembling, supercontinents formed, then broke apart. Land was not a backdrop, it was a character still taking shape. Life in the Proterozoic had no names, not because it was unimportant, but because it was simple. It did not need to be distinguished. It had no stories to tell. Existence was enough. The Proterozoic Earth was repeatedly unstable. Oxygen rose, then fell. Climate warmed, then froze. Each return to balance was temporary. The world was still testing how much change it could endure. If the Proterozoic feels boring to you, it is because it was not meant for you. Its purpose was simply to make everything else possible. In the Proterozoic, Earth did not know it would give rise to life. It only cooled, settled, and cycled. No goal, no expectation of a future. Life was not a plan. It was an accident so long that even Earth did not notice it happening. Evolution in the Proterozoic had no idea of progress. It was not moving toward complexity, but endlessly testing what could continue to exist. Most attempts failed, and failure left no record behind. Time in the Proterozoic never urged anything forward. No deadlines, no countdowns. If a change required 500 million years, then 500 million years would pass. Time was in no hurry to prove its worth. Today you stand on Earth's surface. In the Proterozoic, the idea of a surface was not yet stable. Volcanoes reshaped land. Erosion erased it quickly. The planet's outer shell was still soft, young, and easy to rewrite. The Proterozoic was not a performance. It was not designed to be seen, understood, or admired. It existed simply because physics and chemistry allowed it to. You arrived later, only as an observer. If Earth ever had a time that truly belonged to itself, it was the Proterozoic. No audience, no memory, only existence. In the Proterozoic, the world was not good at leaving traces. Rocks formed, then were erased. Seafloors settled, then were reset. We cannot find it today, not because it never existed, but because it never intended to be remembered. In this age, life was not the protagonist. It existed like background noise, present but never emphasized. Pull the camera far enough back and it almost disappears. The crust sank, then slowly rebounded. Ice pressed down continents. When it melted, the world rose again. The Proterozoic Earth kept testing how much weight it could bear. In the Proterozoic, there was no big or small change. There was only change itself. What seems insignificant today becomes another world 100 million years later. There was no fast and no slow, because there was nothing to compare. Everything moved at the only speed that existed, the speed Earth allowed. If you were born in this age, you would not know you were alive, because being alive was not yet a concept. When the Proterozoic ended, nothing announced it. No countdown, no clear boundary. One day, the silence was simply no longer complete.